Palisades Park Board of Education work session regular session meeting on Wednesday, March 18, 2026. The meeting starts at 6:37 p.m. at the Early Childhood Center, 270 First Street, Palisades Park, New Jersey. Everyone please raise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Lee, respect the roll call.
Ms. Suchong,
Present.
Ms. Sidong Park,
Yes.
Ms. Boyangyo,
Here.
Mr. Aaron Kang,
Present.
Mr. Kimon,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Sergio Kai, Mr. Ray Park,
Present.
Ms. Im Jo Kim,
Present.
Mr. Justin Jung,
Present.
Mr. Carl Abana,
Present.
Mr. Emilio De Andrea,
Yes.
and Tyler Jung.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, I hereby state that notice of this regular meeting has been provided to the public by a written notice dated January 15, 2026. The meeting notice has been emailed to all state members at the district 3 school locations, communicated to the record, filed with the Borough Club of Palisades Park, posted on the district website. And we'll start this meeting by recognizing the athlete of the week. Mr. Abana, could you please introduce this?
Thank you.
Call up our athletic director. The office.
So it's my distinct pleasure and honor to recognize tonight Chris Kasparian. He received Athlete of the Week, which is a honor that is voted on by the sports writers, and it's not an award that's just given to anyone. It's not just a basketball award, which he did receive for basketball. It's one across all sports in the particular season that it's given in. We this year, this is our second Athlete of the Week, which is a rare thing to have, and Chris is not only a great kid, watching him on and off the court, in and out of the classroom, the hallways, upstanding young man. He scored 1,000 points this year, but he also broke the boys' school record for points, which is a great accomplishment that's been held since 1973 or 2. 75, thank you.
That deserves a round of applause.
Yes. Chris will be our 15th Athlete of the Week in school history, and so it's like I said, in the school's history, and his face and will forever be memorialized in the hallways of Palisades Park High School. And at the first thing people will walk into the school, they always look at the Athlete of the Week wall, and they'll see Chris's face there forever. And I couldn't be prouder for him and his family, who supported him going to every game, watching them, talking with them every game. So I'm elated. Because as an athletic director, these are the kinds of things that you want to see your athletes recognize, and everyone that I talk to, athletic directors, coaches, every time they see me, they go, "Man, that tall kid on your basketball team, he's really good." Okay, yeah, I'm like, he's a better kid too. So I like to call up this Coach Pavin up and say a few words about Chris.
Good evening, everyone. Just to echo a few things that Mr. E mentioned. Chris, obviously he's a great player, but just like Mr. E said, he's even a better person. His parents did a great job raising him, so thank you for that. And you know, as a coach, when your best player is also one of the best kids, you know, on the team, it kind of sets the standard for everybody else, and it made my job a lot easier. Also, you know, we're in the process of helping Chris out to play at the collegiate level, so hopefully there'll be an announcement pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Chris Kasparian. Nice to meet you.
Good evening.
And the board has to go closed session. May I have a motion to go on the closed session to discuss personal matters? All in favor? Objection, extension. So we'll be back hopefully in 20 minutes. Hopefully. So to discuss about personal matters and related matters about this, and we'll be back. We have a motion to bring our closed session and to bring our meeting to the public.
I second.
All in favor? So first item to discuss is approval of board minutes. To go to minutes, February 25th, 2026, regular business meeting minutes, executive meeting minutes. If any board member have any correction request on the minutes, please discuss. If not, let's move on to the building and ground. Mr. Garrett.
We have 5 items for approval. Number 1, ask school rental, Presbyterian Church of New Jersey. 2, Borough of Palisades Park, Easter egg hunt and breakfast. Number 3, NJ Korean American Basketball Association. 4, SJ Enrichment Summer Program. And number 5, Sheridan Event Palisades Park Recycling Department.
Thank you. Any questions?
What exactly is SJ Enrichment?
I'm happy to take that. This is a nonprofit educational and athletic organization. And they approached us many years ago. They had a summer program at Notre Dame Academy. And they're in various school districts throughout Bergen County. It's the husband and wife team who run the program. The husband, I believe, was a pro soccer player. His wife was an educator. And it's a combination. It is run for tuition, but it's nonprofit. And they offer a combination of academics, athletics for children in the summer. So they did approach us to rent the lower level of Lindbergh. I toured with the director of the program. Our principal also toured with the director of the program. We spoke to our facilities department, and we're going to give them some, well, the recommendation is to give them some classroom space on the lower level and use of the field to learn soccer skills in the summer. And there is an offer to potentially make a donation to our PTA. So if it's approved, I would also reach out to our PTA and discuss, some potential donation that they may offer.
Carl, what are we doing with that fee of $25,000 again?
code number 1,
Yeah.
as for school.
I will turn it over to Emilio for when we do
Receive the fee of 25,000.
collected, what fund, Emilio, would that be placed in for facilities use?
It's in our operating fund as part of your line item for rentals.
Gotcha, so that goes up by 25,000.
Well, you budgeted an amount based on where you are compared to your budget. 25,000 goes into revenue.
So why are we charging for the Presbyterian Church, which is also a nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
And then we're not charging others, or? Wait,
This
we
is
are
a
charging.
renter.
Why is the fee, like, less than half of SJ?
A couple of reasons. The rent, the space is about half. So
Oh, I
your
see.
number of classrooms. So, and it's also their first year, and they're really not certain how strong their enrollment would be. So it's something that I think we should take a look at. If they're successful and they, first year out have 100+ students, then I think there's room to increase it next summer if we think they're good tenants and we'd like them back. So it's reasonable, I think, to allow them to launch the program. You're hopeful that, they'll have maybe 70 to 100 students, maybe more. And again, half the space is how we estimated this.
Any other questions? If not, next to education, Ms. Kuto, would you read the agenda?
So we have 9 field trips for approval. Field trips, be it resolved that the Palisades Park Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following field trips. First is to the AMC Movie Theater in Ridgewood Park. The second is to Palisades Park Swim Club. Then to Clover Stadium and New York Boulder baseball game. And then to ShopRite in Palisades Park. And then another one to the AMC Theater. And then to Truckenhaven School in Walworth, New Jersey. And then to Liberty Science Center, Museum of Illusions, and then Mental Bakery and South Hackensack.
Okay. Any discussions, questions? Next item is finance. Mr. Chumini.
Yep, there are 17 consent items, 17 different finance. The first is Senate member visitation workshop. Approval for professional visitation workshops. Number 2 is approval of the March bill list. Upon the recommendation, approve the bill list of 1.32, 303.32, 1 million. Number 3, approval of February payroll. Upon the recommendation, approve the following payroll amount. For February, 9/21, 795.45, and February 27th, 1.041. 662.24. Number 4, student activities account. We accept the financial reports for the high school and the Lindbergh School activity account for the month ending February 28th. Number 5 is authorization of payment of bills. Pay bills to April 3rd, 2026, and present it to the Palisades Board of Education. Number 6, South Bergen Jointure Commission Agreement. Agreement with the South Bergen Jointure Commission, Group Coordinated Transportation Service Agency for the purpose of transport students, according to Chapter 53, PL 1997, for 26 and 27 school year. Number 7 is submission and acceptance of the High Impact Tutoring Grant. Submittal and acceptance if awarded of the High Impact Tutoring Competitive Cohort 3 grant. The maximum award for the district is $80,000. Grant will be used to support Summer Learning Academy for ELA and math. Number 8, approval of agreement with Learn Well. And it's approve the agreement with Learn Well to provide educational service for hospitalized students at the rate of $59.85. 9 is approval of agreement with Valley Health System. Approves alcohol and drug testing service agreement with Valley Health Systems.
Number 10, secretary's financial reports. The secretary's unaudited 25-26 financial report reflecting the district financial activities for January 2026. Number 11, ratification of board secretary's monthly certification, budgetary line, item status, January 2026. Number 12 is transfers, January 2026. 13, treasurer's report, July 2025. 14, treasurer's report, August 2025. Number 15, out-of-district contracts. Approve the contracts of 24-25 school year. Number 16, emergency roof repair. Significant roof leak has occurred in Early ECC due to ice melt affecting original wing. Condition of the roof creating an emergency situation. Superintendent has determined immediate repairs are necessary. So we're approving that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So that, if you notice, we don't have the exact dollar amounts yet. We were hopeful to receive them today. The video was working with the contractor, the architects. So part of this building has been closed, as the board I'm sure knows. We have a roof that's at end of life. However, we would like to take this off the agenda, wait for the actual numbers, which we believe may be in the 200,000 range. And when we have the exact amount of the project, bring this back, so either on our next meeting, March 25th, or if not, the following meeting. So if we could withdraw this one resolution until we have exact numbers. And 17 is related to that, because 17, the money is from our capital reserve fund. So both of them would appear later once we have exact numbers.
So then we have only 15 consent agendas, and we will push the roof repair and the transfer from capital reserve until next with a subsequent meeting.
And if I could for the board, so that board members understand, item number 5, our accounts payable assistant business administrator has resigned, and basically asking for approval for her to prepare all of the bills that she has ready through April 3rd, so that we're up to date upon her leaving, since currently we don't have a replacement. So it's a little different. It's just asking for authorization so we can catch up to make sure upon her departure we have all of those up to date.
This administrator did not do these duties before? That's what it was.
I generally do not prepay bills without board authorization, so I'm putting this on so that the board is understanding. We're going to issue bills to be paid, come back at a later point in time to that.
How long was she?
About a year and a half.
2 years and
Yeah, a little bit closer to 2 years.
So in finance, any other discussion or questions?
Are we not going to vote on this because the amounts are not here?
16 and 17, yeah, we'll revisit.
at a later time.
If not, next is personnel. Mrs. Youngpa.
Item 7 agenda today is number 1, appointment of staff. Number 2, home instruction teachers. Number 3, approval of termination. Number 4, request for leave. Number 5, approval of additional teaching assignments for teachers. Number 6, appointment of middle school baseball coach. Number 7, approval of superintendent of schools.
Thank you, Ms. Park.
contract,
Mhm.
was it discussed to do 3 years instead of 5? Was it a discussion at all?
That was the past practice in town too, and we researched other town nearby and throughout New Jersey. That's the most common lengths that we go on, either 3 to 5, but mostly 5. And I think as a board presidents, we work closely with Mr. Carr, for past few 8 months. I think we are lucky to have him, what he does, how much he was qualified to. So we are pretty confident to go for the further 5 years. At that time, last year, when the board was on the superintendent search, we posted both positions, interim superintendents and permanent superintendents. And some of candidates applied for both, and Mr. Bana is one of those too. And so instead of hiring a permanent superintendent, we want to start with interim to see whether he is the best fit to our school district. And based on my discussion with all of our board members, we've been very confident to work with him, and we believe that he is the right person to lead our school district.
You can't say full board members when you haven't really discussed it before today, with me at least.
Well, we discussed last month, and you were very happy about it at the time. I don't know what's the change in this 4 months.
I was not happy about anything.
Oh,
So it
are
was
you
never
serious?
discussed with you?
We discussed in closed session. Are you denying?
No, I
Okay,
don't
that's
think.
okay. I respect you, but it's just different from what I just.
Don't think I was happy, exactly. Okay. So, but it wasn't discussed to do a 3-year term instead. Because while I respect and I do feel good with Carl, I do think that less than a year is not sufficient to fully determine, to go up to a 5-year contract.
Okay, understood. Any other discussion? Question? Okay, next we have one agenda in new business. It's ongoing, we just initiate the discussion about our old office on 2nd Street, because I just want to transparent to what we're doing, because we have to decide what we are going to do with our existing board office. So I will briefly just introduce it, and then Mr. Urbano can explain more details too. So as you know, the 2nd Street, the board office was previously used the ambulance corps, and that we have used it for almost free. And the owner of the land and the building is owner of Palisades Park. And now because of their finance constraint, but whatever reasons that we are asked to pay the rent, and we will have to discuss, and we actually start the discussion. So I want to let you know that we will have a few options while we are going to go forward. And not just have renting out, we could move out, or any other options that we were discussing.
Yeah, I think we appreciate the conversation with the borough. Sue and I met with them, and we had 2 meetings. And we understand, most municipalities are facing financial challenges. And one of the biggest drivers, and we'll talk about it shortly, is healthcare costs. For public employees, it's gone up over 30%. So it's affecting the borough, it's affecting the schools. So we do appreciate that, potentially at some point they may need to sell that property. We also appreciate that we've been able to use it for many years, and it's worked. The building itself you know, the mayor did say to me if, you know, if we were interested in purchasing it, it is something that, you know, we could engage in discussions about. We haven't done a full evaluation of the building itself, but I can tell you, you know, working there every day, I do think there are some pretty significant needs. There are roofing needs. However, the borough is telling us that they have a grant, so they may address the roof this summer. But there are other needs. You know, it is an old structure, and I think if at any point in time we thought about purchasing, my recommendation would be to do a thorough evaluation of the property, the structure, even soil samples, and just, you know what you would be getting into. So that is one possibility. Rental is another. That, you know, may be costly. I haven't done that much research. I've looked around at some commercial real estate. There seems to be some options, but I also want to be clear, they're not. At first, they thought we may need to vacate by the summer. In our most recent conversation, they said we have more time, at least 6 or 8 months. So this is a decision that doesn't have to be made immediately. The schools, you may be wondering, well, gee, can you fit in the schools? We actually looked around, and you know, we have some staff members here. Our schools are really crowded. There just isn't extra space. You know, some districts you do see administration within a school building, and that's a nice situation for us to be close to the staff and the kids, but we just simply don't have that space. So I think it's a discussion that, you know, we brought it up tonight, but I do think we have some time to think it over and have future conversation about it.
How much say does the board have within something relocating the office and the rentals and things like that? Is that something that we all make a determination on, or is that not?
Yeah, that would need board approval. If we decided to rent, you know, commercial space, office space somewhere, and it, you know, it is only 5 of us. We don't need much. We just need a modest space. My estimate would be maybe, you know, 1,600, 1,800 square feet at most, maybe even less if it was configured properly.
I mean, I will put in there that my office and the many offices have moved to just desk spaces instead of offices. Or maybe one conference rather than desk spaces, which does save a lot in real estate. So that if there is that consideration to look at, that will make it, you don't need as much square footage in that matter.
Definitely.
So maybe it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. In the regional request that we always go to discuss about the rental fee, but my concern is that the environments in the building, as previous administration and previous board all have some issue with concern about the mold and stuff. So that part we're very worried about. So we just care about the safe environment, work environments for our employees. And so that's one of the parts that we need to negotiate too and consider whether we move out or stay. And as for your knowledge that the board have researched about the school Board of Education owned land in Palisades Park. So far we have some findings and updates that we will share with you when it's fully available to public. But for now, at the public library, since the Board of Education is the owner of the public library, but I don't think we can remove it now because it's already for, you know, occupied with public library use too. So that is another consideration that we're looking for other spaces to use. Any questions? If not, now motion to close work session and move on to regular session. And report of the Board of Presidents. I actually had a lot today, but I will just move it to next month. And report of the superintendent, Mr. Caravano, have a report.
Sure. Just two recognitions. I'd like to start, I think the board is aware of this, but we did have a scare at Lindbergh several weeks back, and I just want to say thank you to the police department in their responsiveness. They were outstanding. Chief George Beck immediately communicating with us, taking the necessary steps, coordinating with other police departments. It was so swift, the response and the communication from them. We're thankful that it was a non-credible threat, but every threat needs to be taken seriously. And I gotta say, not only in this situation, but they go above and beyond. During the last storm, when our staff, we worked very hard, when we learned that some of the crosswalks were not completely cleared, I guess the plows maybe pushed some snow there, our police officers were actually shoveling crosswalks at like 6 in the morning to make sure our parents and students could cross safely. So I just want to say thank you. I've worked with many different police departments and agencies, and I couldn't ask for more in our partnership. Also, I just want to recognize we had this, what I thought was just an amazing reading promotion program, the Read Across America program. Michelle Martini, I got to give her a shout out for her coordination of this event, and a big thank you to the community. We had people from the borough, the mayor did a reading, board members did readings, police, fire department. I had the privilege of reading to a 2nd grade, and it was the highlight of my week that week. So Michelle, great job, and I think reading is something, the research is showing that as our children get older, because of technology, they're reading less. So to promote that when they're young, and to hopefully instill a love of reading in books is really important. And I just think this program accomplished that and was fantastic. Now on to a little more, business-like or serious topic. I want to thank Midio, DeAndrea, our business administrator, and the entire admin team, leadership team. We've been really working hard on the budget development process. And we have some real headwinds, some challenges. And earlier I did mention this health cost escalation at 32%, which if you think about a school district, New Jersey has, like many other states, a 2% tax cap. So when you have a cost that all of our employees, for the most part, receive help. Some opt out, but the majority have help. And when it goes up by 32%, and I think a family health plan can be in the vicinity of anywhere between 50 and 70,000.
75 now.
75,000
With prescription.
So when you're talking about that in some cases could be more than someone's salary. And you think about handling that kind of increase. And of course, almost 80% of our budget is people, right? We're in the business of education, and you invest in your educators, and they're delivering, with the kids every day. So it's just a big percentage of our budget, and it's a real challenge that we're grappling with. There's a few other budget drivers that at next meeting, Midio and I will give you some more detail. But for this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Midio, and he has some numbers to review with you. Because of this very unusual high increase in health, the state is allowing us to go above the 2% tax cap, and not just a little bit above, significantly above because this increase is so dramatic. So, for example, and Emilio is going to review this, we can go up to 6.74%. And this is not unique to Palisades Park. Almost all school districts are in that 7.5% range of an allowable tax levy increase. And again, why? Because of this big health driver. So I heard of a board last night that had similar discussion in a district nearby that was grappling with potentially a 7.5% increase to manage this and not affect the program. So with that, we are hoping, no decisions have to be made this evening. We have to give you a lot more detail about the budget, but we're looking, as we're building the budget, we are looking just for a little bit of guidance from the board and open up a discussion, and feel free to ask questions. But I'd first like to ask Mr. DeAndrea to kind of review the numbers with you, and then we can open it up for some public discussion.
So, as Mr. Albano said, we're at the back end of preparing our budget. I've been able the last few days to concentrate inputting the information that I've received from the district administrators, putting it into a state database. And based on that database information, as Mr. Albano indicated, we currently do qualify for a waiver of $1.2 million above the 2%. So what I presented in front of the board is the top half is a breakdown of our revenue, breaking out your tax levy, state aid, extraordinary aid, and various other things. So right now, as we sit this evening, if the board was agreeable to go to the full 6.74 with the information that I've received, increasing salaries, projecting salaries, and other variable points, with a 6.74, we are still in a deficit of $2.6 million. That we have to balance the operating expenditure with our revenues. Now, are there still possible adjustments that we can make for revenue streams? Yes, but not to the tune of 2.6. So, as Mr. Albano indicated, a big factor that drove a part of this is the health benefit. But another factor that the board, I need to make sure the board is aware of, it's the last line. It says fund balance on this top half of this spreadsheet. When you, and I have a separate analysis that goes back several years, you've been applying your surplus over the years to balance your budget. Well, your fiscal cliff has hit. In prior years, and I'll go back to 2021. 2021, you were at 462,000. As of 25-26, and I'm going to remind the board, several months ago you approved to transfer $836,000 out of fund balance. It really came out of fund balance, although it was extraordinary aid, just to supplement this year's budget to ensure that we didn't hit a deficit. I can tell you, as of today, when I looked at the board secretary's report, we are at roughly around $500,000 of available funds on the appropriation side, which means we did need the $836,000. I am doing my best to work with the staff to ensure that we're setting aside the funds needed to make it through the rest of the year. I'm feeling much more comfortable as I'm learning the district, understanding the finances, working with the administration, that we should be fine through the year, assuming that all of the information I've received is appropriate and accurate. So in that regard, so when you think that in 2021 you were only using 462, for 25-26, including the 836,000, you use $2.6 million to balance your budget of fund balance. If you use that plus what we're anticipating using for next year, the 900,000, would bring us today to roughly around $580,000 in surplus on a $33 million budget. That's very dangerous. But be mindful, we're still going to generate money from this year, from revenues and the like. So we're going to bring it back up, but we're going to be hovering around the 2% mark that the state recommends that we stay at. So with that, yes, we have a large increase in health benefits, but we also have a big drop-off in the use of fund balance, because we don't have 2.80. We're down to only $900,000 at this point in time. So you're losing about $1.8 million in surplus that have been supplementing your budgets over the years. I just want to make sure everyone's understanding that you've been using surplus to balance your budgets, and you no longer are generating the money that you've put into your budget on a yearly basis. So we're at that point where we can no longer supplement our budgets with fund balance because we don't have it. Next week you have the auditors here. They are going to present it. They're going to show that our fund balance is going to be roughly $4,127,000. So to be mindful of the $4,000,001, we're using the 2.6 for this year, and we're using 900 for next year. So we're dwindling down on those funds, folks. With all that said, we currently sit at $2,622,000 based on the information that we have. And the reason that we're here this evening is Mr. Albano, myself, and the administration, we have a task now. If the board is willing to accept a 6.74%, we know that we have to find 2.6 million in reductions in the budget that we have to present. If the board is not willing to accept that, it's basically for every 0.5%, it's another $136,000 in cuts. So if the board were to say no to using the cap waiver of 1.2, we're then looking at cuts of 3.9. If they say we don't want to be at 2, we want to be at 2.5, we then drop to 3.76 in cuts. And please be mindful that the majority, as Mr. Albano says, is staff. Not saying all of it, but we're going to have to take hard looks at a lot of different areas if the board is not agreeable to 6.74. If you remove the 1.2, $4 million cut in the middle of $33 million budget is a substantial reduction. So we're looking for a direction so that we can spend the next week working diligently to come back to the board. If you're willing to accept 6.74, we know it's 2.6. If it's a number other than 6.74, we're asking for direction as to where your comfort level is so that we know what our true charge is at that point.
Wait, so what does this mean? Why wouldn't we do the 6.7?
I don't make, that's the fiduciary responsibility of this board to say yes. That's why we're presenting it this evening in that regard.
Those tax levies can affect the parents of the students as well, like making their taxes increase?
Yes, absolutely, yes. That's why we're here.
Actually, the most challenging part that the board is right. So this whole presentation of numbers are from our finance professionals and school district, our administrators, presenting the necessary money and explain all the money that need to be explained to us. But we've board members, we communicate with the community as well, that this is most challenging part that we need to consider and balance out between school district business annual fund and annual tax increase.
Another question.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of parents that are in hardship program?
Are you talking about the students who are subject to the free and low lunch things?
Yeah, I'm just.
Financially disadvantaged group of
Yeah.
children, Denmark, right?
Yes.
It's a little more than 60%. That's student families, that's not the entire Palisades Park community.
Yes. Our town and most of the taxpayers, homeowners, they don't have as crazy
Because I don't
children
think-
much,
no.
but it balances out too, but still we need to consider
Yeah,
each part.
6.7 for 1%. It would be very large.
But just, I think you're making an important point, Jim, but just to clarify, this would impact property owners. Okay, so if indirectly, if you're renting, you may not feel the impact right away, but eventually, the landlord may start, if the property taxes go up, your rent potentially can go up. But just to be clear, there's not an immediate impact to renters, the biggest impact is to property owners. And, Bo, as a board, there's this balancing act of, you do have a responsibility to the entire community, right? You're here, as Emilio said, it's a fiduciary responsibility. You're approving a tax increase, basically, that's a big responsibility. And then you also have this responsibility to provide a quality education for the children of Pal Park. And it's a difficult position to be in. I'll just give one other factor that I think is playing into it, and this is getting a little ahead of where we are this evening. Next board meeting, we're going to give you some more detail, but I have an inflationary chart, right? So just to read some numbers, let me go back to my data. In 2021, inflation was 4.7%. Remember the pandemic, prices went sky high, and we for the most part, we've been maintaining here at Pal Park a 2% tax cap. In 2022, inflation went to 8%, and we remained under the cap. Then it dropped to 4.1%, 3.4%, and this year inflation is running just a little over 3%. It's still running hot. And now with world events, oil prices going up, the prediction is that inflation will be sticky. And no one sees it going down to 2%. So that's another consideration. I think when the 2% tax cap was implemented in New Jersey and New York and many other states, inflation for about 10, 12 years was running very low. It was always under 2%, so a tax cap worked. But times have changed. And so a 6 point, for a homeowner, or maybe homeowners that are retired and on a fixed income, a 6.74 increase, is a lot. However, we also have, to run this school properly, even if you went to the maximum, as Mr. I want to emphasize this, we still would need to make some staffing reductions. So we are this is a real, one other important factor is this problem is not unique to Palisades Park. I spoke to the county superintendent. Everyone is struggling with this issue and this conversation. So please don't feel it's something unique to our district, or everyone in the state of New Jersey is challenged by this. And then again, we even heard even the municipalities, the police and fire and borough, they're dealing with it as well. So please, questions.
So this, as you explained, this high number of percentage increase might be pretty common throughout New Jersey and maybe nationwide. But what about just spending using fund balance to close the project gap. Is it common practice too?
Very good question. So, we've increasingly relied on fund balance, and I've only been here for 8 months, but I believe it was to avoid cutting program. So my thinking is Hal Park wanted to preserve our athletics programs, our academic programs, our music programs, and that's important. All those programs are, I think, essential to any quality district. But every year, and we'll show you more data next time, but you've used more and more of your fund balance, or I'll put it in, the video uses the technical terms, it's your savings, right? So we've been running the district using savings, but savings eventually runs out. And so, using it, by the way, it's perfectly allowable. Most districts do. So if you anticipate, you never budget to the exact dollar, right? That would be irresponsible. We can't overspend our budget. So usually you have 3 or 4% contingency built in, just to be conservative. And if you don't spend it all, which is what you hope for, at the end there's a surplus which flows into fund balance. Emilio, our surplus at the end of last fiscal year, we think it's about 600,000.
No. If, once we apply the 900,000
Yeah.
for next year, we'll be down to 6, plus whatever we replenish for this year.
Okay.
So, as we said, as a snapshot and point in time, we're at 6. So we will replenish funds for this year.
We will. Okay. But using, in my judgment, roughly $32 million budget, using 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 of fund balance is reasonable, because you're probably going to have, in the following year, you'll probably have at least that much in surplus. But when you start using more like 2 million, and then, returning 6, 8, it just eventually runs out. And that also is at play here. So you got kind of like the perfect storm going on.
And just to that point, for 24-25, you apply 2.2 million. From the information I received from the auditors, we only replenished 1.6 million of the 2.2 that you used. So
it went down by
it went down by
600,000.
600,000. And again, not the use of the 836 to supplement this year's budget is another added hit to the 1.8. They didn't, and we were fortunate, and I say we, the district, they did not budget for extraordinary aid, so that's how we were able to bring in those funds. For next year, for the 26-27, I am anticipating 500,000. So that we're not going in at zero, we're anticipating some of those funds to make up the shortfall in the revenue. I'm not sure of the mindset of why they didn't include extraordinary aid, because you have been receiving it over the years, but they haven't been including it in your budget revenue. I'm assuming with the anticipation of knowing that that money was available to replenish. It's unfortunate, Mr. Albano and I inherited from what we believe was a short budget based on what we were given when we walked in the district.
Yeah, at the same time as the surge of health benefit cost too.
Right, and then you got hit with the 32%. Now, keep in mind, for this year, it's only 6 months. Next year, the first 6 months is already set. Who knows what the following 6 months are going to give us? And if I remember correctly, I budgeted, I believe I put in another 30% increase for the following year. And there's no indication that it's not. So you're preparing, and and I've always shared this with individuals. You start preparing a budget in November, December, and you're trying to predict your expenditures out for 16 months, 18 months. No one here can do that. So did anyone anticipate last year a 32% in health benefits? No, we were told come in around 23, 24. An 8% difference is a big difference. So there's no indication. So if we don't get it, then there's surplus for next year to return into your budget. But yeah, you more or less have to prepare in that regard. And with that, and if I know, since we are on health benefits, there is a process by the state where you can request your experience rating, but you cannot request it if you request it within a 2-year period, they charge you. If I remember correctly, June of 26, you're able to go out and get your experience rating.
What is that?
And your experience rating is basically based on your premiums that you've paid and the utilization by your membership. Tells you how much versus what you paid versus what you used. And generally, if your utilization number is below 85, it's maybe beneficial for the district to look outside of the state health benefits plan. Be mindful. Anything you look at must be equal to or better than the current coverage. And I emphasize the coverage because some people come back and say, well, the network's not the same. The network, from my understanding, network is not the factor. It's the coverage that's being offered. So we will look to get our experience rating to determine if it's appropriate for the district to go out and market. So you have a lot of moving pieces at this point in time that you can explore and look into. But again, utilizing, and right now, more than $900,000, $1 million in surplus, I think you're pushing the envelope at that point because now you're really tapping into your fund balance. So we're here more or less to know, is the board agreeable to 6.74 so that we with the administration can look at what is going to have the least amount of impact to balance the budget by the $2.3 million.
I want to know, have you ever been in this situation where you had to increase this amount of money, sort of, in your experience, Superintendent?
I've never seen a 32% health increase. I've seen 9, 10, 13, and those were challenging years. This is the highest I've ever seen health go up. So this, and again, I don't have a complete history, but Emilio, you're doing this a long time. Do you ever recall a 32%?
Not 32%.
No. This is maybe unprecedented, quite frankly, but we could try to go back and find that data for you, but it's highly unusual.
I'm more concerned about community reaction, especially, homeowners, I guess, is that where it comes from?
Property owners.
Does that mean that taxes directly real estate taxes will get increased by that specific amount, or?
No. That's where I need a video's help.
And you have to be, and again, it gets very complicated. The way you strike your taxes, you're in 2026. Half of last year's budget is being raised now, and half of whatever we adopt will be raised in the second half and postponed. So it's a deferral. It's a little bit complicated to try and explain. So you're raising half of one year, half of another year. So will it go up by 6.74? No, because you're still balancing last year's taxes with this new increase.
And there are other
goal,
factors,
right? And the
The
goal
property
is that
development could impact
your ratables. Ratables change. If you have new assessments that come on.
So it won't be fully realized until next year, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and then whatever next year's impact may be, they will drive it even further or less. And we all get tax bills, and sometimes the first tax bill, you'll get an adjustment for the prior year assessments, so they balance it that way. So it's a revolving door, but our goal is that by the presentation of the final budget, I would be hopeful to work with the tax collector so that we can talk about the tax impact, dollar amount. we're not quite there yet, because it just doesn't make sense to calculate it at this point.
I mean, I would predict a very large outcry in the community if something like this should happen, if we're going to do this. So, have you been in that situation at all in the past, at all? Like
Yes.
any,
Yes, New York has a very similar model. There's 2% tax cap. There are exclusions, they're called, where when you have something like this, they allow you to go above it. And then you can do an override and even go above that, but you need a 60% supermajority vote. You have to do a public vote. So I was in a district that was in financial difficulty, and we did a 6.6, so very close to your allowable. And we made the case why it was needed, and there were certainly, we heard from many community members, you know, yes, for some particularly, the group I think that was the biggest concern and the most difficult part were retirees on fixed income, right? And that in their home for 30, 40, 50 years wanted to stay in their home, and these types of increases were really challenging for them. But your other your parents and other aspects of the community voiced their opinion and said, look, we don't want to, gut our school district basically. We want to have music and sports and quality education, and we don't want 40 children in the class. We want to maintain, 23 children average in a class. So that conversation did play out, but in New York, it's a public vote. Here, in some ways a little more difficult. All the board members have to make this very difficult decision. It's not an easy decision. So, you're weighing, the burden to the homeowners and the property owners versus trying to preserve this school district. Personally, as your lead educator, I will, and we'll speak for Emilio, but we would like to see you go to 6.74. We need the money. And we can demonstrate that next week. We will give you all the data that you need and reasons why. But we also are respectful of, this board, is also responsible, not just to the students, but the broader community. So it's not an easy decision. And by the way, just to emphasize, you don't need to make the final decision tonight. What we're hoping to do is, as we go to build, Emilio and I have a lot of work to do with the admin team over the next week. So if you think you potentially would go to the max, we can build out a budget around that and present it to you next week. But if that's a non-starter, if there's like a red line where you wouldn't go above 5% or wouldn't go above 4%, then we would build a budget around that number. But whatever you decide this evening, whatever guidance you give us, the final approval of the budget is April, what? The date?
I don't think,
Third,
I think
third
we
week,
picked
22nd?
27th or something.
Yeah.
It has to be after April 20th.
Yeah, I think the
After
22nd,
April 24th.
don't quote me on that, I'm pretty sure. So you still have a solid month before you have to make a final decision. But again, we have so much work to do, and this is a challenging budget. This is making some difficult decisions.
But we have to finalize the tentative budget, right, by next week. And then the number that
That's
we
the goal.
discuss by then.
Yes.
How much did we raise last year?
3.2.
3.2.
So maybe for purposes of, like, for us to know, like, as a homeowner, let's say they have a $1.4 million house, at 4%, 5%, 6%, how does it break down? The dollar
And
amount?
that I wouldn't know until we know the budget, and then I would go to the tax collector, have them. I'm always cautious on calculating taxes, because that's not what I do. Again, ratables, assessed values change every year, so the goal is that once we strike the tentative, I will work with the tax collector to say what is the impact on the average household, and we can get you that number after we know where we are. So you know, it's challenging, but I do want to make one comment. For anyone that is a senior citizen, there is to get the form, but they can file a form to freeze their taxes and they get the money back. I know I file for my mother every year. And you just file the form, you get your money back, whatever increase, there's income levels and all, but they can file for that, and hopefully the members of this community are aware of that also.
Yeah, they said they're running a meeting on that too.
Yeah. So we're, again, Mr. Albano and I are looking for guidance so that next week we're not sitting here saying we can't accept that, because I cannot change the budget at that evening and tell you that that's the number that we can live with.
So, usually even 1% more than budget cap, 2%, like even if it's 3% or total, still we get a lot of impact from a responsible community too. But, you have to really think about all the process that we've gone through negotiations the past 2 years, that we were in a position to think about the raising cost of both teacher's salary and program. This benefit just goes up too. Meanwhile, the community is asking how much the tax will be impacted by this increase, and you're always in that position. And for now, like it's even election season for the primary election, and then it's November, it's going to be another issue too. But the community is asking if anyone is running. The number one question to any member who run on the election was always tax, in my experience. And now, I don't know, I see SNS by the mayor, and then he's posting that he's actually asking board members to raise the salary for teachers. So it's interpreted like to me, like, oh, he's asking us to raise more tax for that. So that's a lot of questions that you have to think and discuss and consider to many community members in their each role. They have their own different opinion and input to your decision too. So we have like 1 week that if you want to hear from the board. So it's a difficult decision, so I think we don't have much time left, so can you give any feedback or discussion as much as you could? And by the way, I know this is a very heavy subject, but I'm glad that we discussed here in public meeting. I don't think we would previously be. So I love this kind of transparency too. Thank you for Mr. Medio and Mr. Bano to bring this discussion to open to public.
Well, I feel like it is hard for me to make a decision right now or think about it without understanding how much it is going to impact each household, per household. And you said that it is hard to get right now unless you talk to the tax collector, but yeah, I feel like that information will help me make a more informed decision.
So
I'll break down the percentage for impact on those.
how will we be able to get any approx impact?
I
Things
can't,
that
I don't
maybe
know, I don't
not
even know your
released.
tax collector, so
Right.
I wonder if the 3.2, did we have that, we should have had that data last year. We raised 3.2. And how much did
I
that
can't find
impact?
anything in the presentation that shows it. I didn't see
Was it
the
available?
presentation.
We can try to look.
We can, but
It's a key
again,
question.
tonight, please understand, tonight is not trying to say what the tax rate's gonna be. It's more or less, is there a limit as to where you're willing to go? If it's not 6.74, is it 5? Is it 4? Because we're struggling to prepare a budget to present, knowing that if we go without a waiver, we're cutting $4 million out of this budget without the waiver. And that's why I broke it out into increments of 0.5%. We understand fully that 6.74 is a high number, but keep in mind, we can strike our tentative budget, and then by the adoption, we can make changes. You know, once we're able to get to you, show you where the cuts are and all, you may say, we have no choice. But it's hard to prepare. For me, for Carl and I, brand new to this district, it's hard to give you different scenarios to say, well, this is the damage at 6.7, this is the damage at 2. You know, we're still trying to bring everything together in that regard. You know, we've been talking about special education. We've been talking about health benefits. We've talked about salaries. You know, as we said, you settled in 3.3, if I remember correctly. 3.2. So that's above the 2%. So you're making that difference up. And again, I don't mean to harp on it, but the use of fund balance is really the other impact that has hurt you, but you're not alone with the health benefits. That's a big impact, 32% on health benefits. And a family plan that's covered, anyone that has a family plan now goes up to $75,000 when I last looked at it.
I think another way to look at this is, state of New Jersey is allowing this Powell Park School District to go to 6.74 because they recognize it's needed. Okay. So, however, this board will decide that final number. And again, just, you know, I don't mean to be repetitive, but tonight, if there is a number that you could feel comfortable with, if it's 4 or 5, that we would work with that number and build a budget for you and bring it back to you next week. So I know, and I think it's okay if you are not prepared, if you need a little more time to process this, and certainly you can reach out and ask questions. If any one board member had a follow-up question, we would respond to the entire board, so all 9 board members have the same information, right? So I think it's either, you know, do we kind of go around, it's not an official vote, but just to kind of poll people and say, look, I could be comfortable with a 4% increase or a 5% increase, or 2, you know, 2% is where I'm at. And if you're not, if you don't want to do that and you want some time to think it over, that's okay, but you know, Emilio and I we need that guidance to move forward. I mean, we could pick a number and try to build a budget around it, but ultimately we're going to need the board to approve it.
So there was no way to negotiate with the health insurance company at all?
State, it's a state. That's the thing, what's frustrating, to be honest, there's so many things about running a school district that you have no control over, right? So health, all the contractual obligations, special education, you know, what goes on a child's IEP must be honored legally, right? So there's no saying we don't have enough money for special education services. It's a legal mandate, right? So in a $32 million budget, quite frankly, you don't have that many choices and areas to reduce.
We even spoke today, going in and adjusting all non-health benefits personnel expenditures back to the 24-25 actual. But that's such a small part of the budget, it probably would have maybe cut back $50,000. A large exercise for no reason.
You talk about supplies and paper, copy paper, even our athletics program, which is very, saw a young man here tonight who we celebrated. It's, even if you cut out all athletics, it's not going to make that much of an impact.
So if we went to other, you said private or insurance?
There is a potential that you could save money, not now, but it's 6 months away. You might be able to get a new plan in place for January 1st. Yeah, you're not transitioning that quickly. You have to go out, you have to market it. the key factor is where is your experience rating? That's the most important. You know, if your experience rating is above an 85, you're probably best staying in the health benefits, the state health benefits.
Because
They look at experience rating that,
to give you a rate.
to give you your rate, yeah. It's like anything else, you know. Your insurance, your personal insurance, you get into a car accident, get into 1 or 2 car accidents, see what the following year premium numbers are. You know, that's how it works. It's a tough situation, and health benefits are a big factor in everybody's lives, not just districts, corporate America, and everyplace else.
So when you raised it last year though, was there a public outcry at all?
I don't know.
No, we didn't have it at the time.
I don't know at 3.2 which been used.
The number was presented by former administration, and then we approved it, because I don't know if I didn't really do the cross check, but I just trusted the final number that we worked for. The 30.2% is maximum percentage that the board could request.
So you probably applied, there was probably the cap waiver, and I can look back at last year's and see how much the cap waiver was.
So the cap waiver increased this year because of the.
Yes, because of health. Yes.
Any questions? Any feedback? Any number that you think about? So we will do a discussion maybe in the email, but it's a discuss part of things, you know, we can't
Right, you
really
can't do it
meet
by email.
all two. So like finance committee members, they do, we can just discuss, 3, 4, including me, and also other committee members. If you would like to discuss your own, please do so, and let's come up with some numbers before next Wednesday meeting, March 25th.
We have to request, can't be next Wednesday, we find
I-
out. If we could by Monday, I have
By
a
Monday,
lot of work
okay.
ahead of me, folks.
Okay, so 4
And
days
again-
left, so probably need more knowledge for yourself to understand what's going on here and why we can get this high number. Also, the impact of our community and also impact to the school district.
And what Mr. Albano and I can do is, we'll work for now at the 6.74, and I think that, if you don't mind, what we'll do is we'll develop, and then we'll have other scenarios, and unfortunately, if we have to submit our budget late, we'll submit our budget late, if it comes down to that. And the other difficult part is that the governor pushed out her address 2 weeks out, but only extended the submission by 1 week. So when you think the budget numbers or the state aid numbers only came out on the 13th, or whatever date it came out, that's when we got the final numbers. And even with that, we lost money. So you even lost money in state aid.
Yes.
So that came out, so you lost money there. So it's a tight cycle, and it's a tough decision that everyone has to make. So we'll move on, but I can share for myself. I agree with you. It's good to have these discussions so that no one is saying, well, you didn't even inform us. So we're in challenging times. Cap waiver of 1.2 is a substantial number, but knowing that the state is allowing it means they recognize that districts can't survive if they don't make use of some of those caps.
Even last year, when 3.2% came out, still the pressure. The finance committee had some pressure on it because it's above 2%. But we did it at the time during the district negotiation matters, and it was being very hostile and it's hard past years. So we just requested the worst amount that we could request. But before that, it has been 2%. And instead, as administration officers explained, we've been using funding balance to close the gap and budget deficit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you have our homework for today until Sunday. I'm going to call everyone. So please be ready over your own summary and fill it out. Alright, so
Actually, I
Yeah.
have a question right now. What is the break-even point of the tax levy? If we're already working with a deficit right now, and 6.74% will give us a surplus, what is the break-even point?
There really is no break-even point, per se. You develop a budget, again, the break-even point, at 6.74, we have to cut the $2.6 million. That's your, because you have to present a balanced budget. And again, will we talk about using other revenues, increasing certain revenue streams? Yes. Where I put in here 500 for extraordinary aid. You generally don't want to assume you're going to generate the same exact money as the prior year. I'm a little conservative in that. 900, can we make 900 $1 million? Possible. When you look at miscellaneous revenues, you had in the prior year, for 24-25, it came in at 856. For 25-26, they budgeted 275. I'm saying 309. We'll look at that again. So when we say cut 2.2, it's not all expenditure side. We will look at adjustments in revenue. So, but if the 6.74 is something the board can accept, we now know it's 2 point that number versus 3.9. You know, that's a big difference to try and figure out how to manage a budget and where you cut at that point. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Mejia. Next. So item K, approval of board minutes. I have a motion to approve February 25th, 2026, regular business meeting minutes, executive meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? So minute of February 25th, 2026, forecast. Next item, building and ground, we have 5 consent agenda for approval. May I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Who is it?
I agree.
All in favor? Education, we have one agenda, is all about field trips. May I have a motion to approve field trip?
Second. Justin, make the motion.
Yes. Is it? Oh, no. So I think Junior first and the second. Next. Item N, finance. We originally had 17 consent agenda, but we will only vote from number 1 to number 15. So number 16 and 17, emergency roof repairs and authorization for the transfer from capital reserve for fixing the roof. Those items would not be included for this board. May I have a motion to
Wasn't number 5 also not on
number 5,
because we needed to,
the bill?
yeah.
No, number 5, I just gave clarification.
So a motion to approve finance item, number 1 to 15.
Second.
Mr. Ru, Ms. Lee, could you take the roll call?
Ms. Suchan,
Yes.
Mr. Sergio Kaya, Mr. Ray Clark, Ms. Indokian,
Yes.
Mr. Justin Zhang,
Yes.
Mr. Junior,
Yep.
Ms. Boyoung Yu,
Aye.
Ms. Sugan Park,
Yes.
and Mr. Aaron Hai.
Next. Personnel, we have 7 consent agenda in personnel. May I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Just like that. I make a motion. Okay, I'll second.
You want, so. Ms. Lee, please roll call.
Ms. Suchan,
Yes?
Mr. Sergio Kaya,
Yes.
Mr. Ray Clark, Ms. Indokian,
Yes. Oh, no, you have that.
Sorry. Absence.
abstain to
Number 7 only.
Mr. Justin Zhang,
Yes.
Mr. Junior,
Yep. Yes.
Ms. Boyoung Yu,
I also abstain to number 7. Yes,
Ms. Sugan Park,
Yes.
and Mr. Aaron Hai.
Yes.
So our motion passed, and also I go back to explain for clarification for number 7. I better remove this language upon the terms set forth in the contract approved by the Boarding County Executive County Superintendent, because we have approval from the County Superintendent Office. So it's just the language was, I brought it up before we received those approval from the county superintendent office. So now it's all approved from the county. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, may I have a motion to close the discussion, but may I have a motion to open our meeting to the audience in public?
I'll make a motion also. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In order to conduct its meeting properly and efficiently, the board shall require the following procedure to public participation at board meetings. Any individual desiring to speak shall give his or her name, address, and group, if any, that is represented. The presentation shall be as brief as possible, but no more than 3 minutes per individual. The board vests in its president or other presiding officer authority to terminate the remarks of any individual if she deems in the best interest of those present to do so. Yes?
So Natalie Monsanto, I teach science at the high school. It's really, just about the taxes. So if we stay at 2%, then there's $4 million that needs to be cut from the schools, which I'm assuming would come from school supplies, school programs, and school staff. But if you go to the 6.74, you're still short $2.6 million, but you may be able to find that in certain places, not necessarily all school supplies, school programs.
Anyone in public?
Lisa Panchi, teacher at the middle school. I just have a question, Mr. DeAndrea. So,
Mine to the board president.
oh, okay. So public employees, their health insurance is going up, you said 30%. So that would be the police as well. Did you speak to the mayor and see, like, because that fund, that's so much money that they could help us, help the school district because we're public employees and give us more towards our budget for the town? Is that something that you can do? Or no?
I will respond after, and.
Oh, okay. And also, Mr., are you gonna say what the salary is for our new superintendent? And does it increase each year? Because, that would also impact our budget as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Pierce, I live at Central Boulevard. Why are we taking away days from the spring break if that's when the roof is supposed to be repaired? And also for the summer program, is that offered to the pre-K students as well?
Karen Halleck, I also had the same question about the roof, if they were planning on fixing it during spring break, how we plan on doing it now, since school will be in session. And I also wanted to know, as far as like the bomb threats, how do you come up with whether you're going to evacuate the school or if you're going to shelter in place? And as far as letting parents know, how do you let parents know in time in case this was something serious and it wasn't some random calling me just saying this was going to happen? So I'm not going to lie, that being in it and then not being able to get to my kids, it was stressful.
I have a question. Why was spring
Your
break?
name, please?
Oh, sorry. My name is Maggie. I'm staff at Lindbergh. And
What's your last name?
Mostrella. I wanted to know why was spring break not like we have half days in the summer. Why wasn't it added to the summer? Like the half days, like instead of the three we were taking over. They took our spring break away in April for 3 days. Why wasn't it not added to the summer? Because we have so many half days. So it should have been added to the summertime.
Anyone else? Then may I have a motion to close our audience participation session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Most of us, that Mr. Albano may be the best person to answer, but if respond to Ms. Panchi, I just want to make sure that I understood your question well. So you are asking the board of if they have any surplus and.
Well, I'm just saying that I use public employees everyone's insurance went up a lot.
Right.
And the police would be the same as the teachers. So would you reach out to the mayor and say, like, what are you doing for that? What are they doing? Where are they finding that money? And is there any way that they would consider to give us more towards our budget? Is that possible? Could there be a talk about that?
Right.
The mayor knows us, we drive them crazy.
So my understanding is school budget is very independent for school district. What I can request That's actually I and Mr. Albano met Mayor last week, and we discussed about the school security, what was it, SR officer, and other sources that we could cooperate, or any parts that we could get any work. We could just benefit each other. Unfortunately, as we already discussed in the beginning, including our board office, might have to give them a rent, right? So you kind of see, or this governing body, it has its own financial struggles too. But we are discussing, including renters, including the police officer in school, and other shared services too, and also public library issue as well too. And we'll try our best to bring this benefits to our school district, but yeah. So it was close, and I'm sorry.
Okay. I may ask a few, good number of topics, so I may ask you a clarifying question. So, Natalie, the budget, you did hear correctly, but I want to emphasize, just for clarification, I think part of our discussion and a lot of information that we gave out without visuals, supplies, things such as that, when you're trying, if we do go to the maximum, right, the 6.74% tax, which is a big ask of the board and the community, we still need to do significant reductions. And things like supplies and copy paper, we probably try to year over year hold those levels, but that's not where the money is. And any budget for a school district, between 75 and 80% of the money are in people. Salaries, benefits, the things that we talked about. So when you're looking for over $2 million, cutting back or getting a better price on copy paper, it doesn't even move the dial at all. Okay, so that'll be part of our discussions going forward. We will be as transparent, and any presentations we make, they'll be posted on the website, and for our employees and community to follow. So that process will be over the next 6 weeks or so. The health increase is 32%. I made a note. Was there a? Can you clarify that one for me? That was Lisa. Okay, so we kind of answered it. So, and yeah, everyone's facing the same challenge. So again, the mayor, I don't think he wanted to ask us to pay rent, but so the idea of them potentially giving us money is highly unlikely, because they have their own challenges, right? They're running, all their staffs are strained and their budgets are strained. So, we're looking for ways. We met to try to look for ways that we could collaborate. Sometimes there is some efficiency in shared services, things like that. So we started to have some interesting conversations, but we're kind of like in the same position where the borough, the school district, we're facing the same challenge. Okay. The salary, I'll defer to Sue on that one, on the salary increases, because the board determines that. Spring break. So the simple answer is the roof. We were hopeful to get this roof replaced, because right now we have 2 classes and the main office displaced in this building, in the ECC, as most people know. It was our goal to try to start and have this project done over the break, but that's just not possible. So there are required approvals, there are estimates, and again, we tabled even the approval of it because we don't have the exact dollar amount. And Emilio, I think the latest update from the construction company, what we also didn't realize, and again I was hopeful, there's a lot of heavy equipment involved in the roof replacement. So there has to be machinery, it may potentially block traffic, and so probably the safest way to do this project is over the summer. So I did inform Ms. Romero of that this afternoon, because that is the latest update. The board is hearing this for the first time. I was hoping to get children and back in their classrooms and a better flow here, but it seems like, you know, that will have to wait till September. So, but I guess related to that, and maybe this answers a few people asked about spring break, I think it's important to know that I didn't determine the makeup days. This current board did not determine the makeup days. So the way a school calendar is developed is about a year ago, there's a committee that meets. We have a policy on calendar development, which is typical in any public school district. And it involves representation from the PPEA. So we have calendar committee members. It's very specific. There's a rep from every school district, and my understanding is there were 5 members. They sit with the superintendent. They go back and forth. There aren't all that many decisions, but when you start, like the first day of school, holidays, makeup days, those are the key factors that are discussed with the committee, and they are advisory. They don't have final say. The board, under New Jersey state law, has the final approval. But most boards do, you know, refer to, you know, to whatever recommendation they're getting and accept that, because a lot of collaboration and expertise goes into it. Then typically it goes up to the admin level. Again, you just want different perspectives. There's state assessments, there's graduation, there's requirements. So with all that, this was developed last year and adopted, recommended to the board and adopted on April 30th, then published. So that is really the guide that everybody follows. Once a calendar is published, board approved and published on the website, and in the middle of it, it does clearly in bold letters say emergency makeup days will happen on spring break. Do not make permanent plans. I'm pretty close to without having it in front of me. So with that, all we didn't decide to have emergency snow makeup days on April break. That was decided over 10 months ago. We just followed the board-approved calendar. Okay, so the board could potentially amend or change the calendar, but that's a difficult thing to do when it's been published for 10 months and families plan around that, staff plans around that, because those makeup days were established back on April 30th, 2025. Now, this year, what I'm kind of hearing from some community members is spring break is valued. And what I've seen some other neighboring districts do is start school earlier and then build some potential snow makeup days around Memorial Day. And that's another approach. So what I look forward to is meeting with the calendar committee, which I think Grace Lee, my assistant, is setting up a meeting. And we'll have those discussions about the 26-27 calendar. But like I said, this current calendar and the spring break makeup days, they were decided 10 months ago, and all we're doing is following the calendar. Okay? So I think that addresses a few people brought up the calendar. The bond threat, we can't discuss in a public forum, and you wouldn't want us to discuss exactly how we handle different threats or situations. Those are more confidential internal conversations with law enforcement, with administrators, with faculty people. So, but communication around it, I think, is important. You know, what you try to do is avoid creating panic. It's a very scary situation. But I will tell you, the principals, myself, the chief of police, our SRO, we were all in constant communication. The entire event was about an hour. You heard me compliment our local police department, how swiftly they responded and then brought in support from the county. And from the very beginning, there was this idea that it was a non-credible threat, but you still have to do your due diligence, and that is where, you know, we had to have a shelter in place. So in the midst of it, you don't want to send out communication with partial information or incomplete information, because it may instill panic in people, right? So, quite frankly, you know, we give directives. If it's a shelter in place, if it's a lockdown, whatever it may be, you get clear directives from your building administrator, and we don't start right away giving minute-by-minute updates. And in fact, you don't want us doing that. You want us focused on the issue at hand and making sure everyone is safe. But I did try to get a communication out at the very end of it. And I get the desire to want information in real time. I don't think it's prudent, and it's actually not recommended. Okay.
We knew it was non-parable from the beginning, and it kind of.
Yeah, but we didn't.
Then it's like.
We didn't. You know, you go one step at a time, right? You rule out this. Was there no sign of forced entry? Okay. But, you know, you take it one step at a time. And again, I'd rather have. You can call me. We could have a conversation. I don't think a public forum is where you want to discuss our safety plans. Okay. Spring break I covered. Pre-K. The answer, unfortunately, is no. Pre-K funding is just for 10 months during the school year. So the grant money that we have will be a program at Lindbergh. We're excited we accepted a grant tonight. That will cover a program for our students. It'll be a half-day program starting in late June, and I think it's 20 full days. And we're planning it still, but we will be posting for teachers to hopefully apply who are interested and provide some additional learning for our students in the summer. And again, it's grant funded, which is nice and prevents that summer slide. So more information to follow, but it will not be for the pre-K children. Whoever asked that, I apologize. I think I covered everything, except for myself.
Great. Just comments to the current things, board members that we usually approve annual calendar in April, not really later than May. So last year we approved it, and as explained, there is a calendar committee in teachers and teaching staffs, and it usually includes 2 board members at least by the policy. So far, but it wasn't working that way, and last year we just accepted in trust of all our employee staff in school and our administrator at the time. So that's was our knowledge that we approve on what they decided. So that was clearly included that any emergency closing or makeup days for emergency closing will be applied to the spring recess. And
so which board members are?
We back then, many years ago, the board had a calendar committee, and we felt like it didn't really function much at the time, and it was just 1 month of a year. So we got rid of committee. Instead, we decided to put that role into education. So that's how we discussed with Mr. Chang, the chairperson in education, regarding the spring recess. So Mr. Albano speak with the chairperson, Mr. Chang, regarding this issue too. So everyone was in the same place, knowledge.
So you already started for the next calendar?
We're setting up our first meeting, and then hopefully by April or the latest, the May board meeting, we'll present it to the entire board.
Oh wait, the bomb dress, I wasn't aware of it. So are you able to disclose, did you figure out who did it?
Again, as I said earlier, I think topics such as that, I'd rather speak to you, not on camera in public, because, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, at the similar time, there was a news in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a few students who were arrested because of these forced fundraising. So it's an ongoing issue nationwide, and thanks for that this was in our district. And thanks again to all the first responders, including police officers and fire department and Mr. Albano and all the administration and school staffs as well. Any other discussion? May I have a motion? Well, we already.
All right, I have my question. First, I want to congratulate you, Mr. Albano, on becoming our superintendent for a long period of time. But I was just wondering, it didn't state the salary of, and is it an increase each year? Like the teacher goes up a guide, we go up. So I was just because I'm very nervous about what Mr. DeAndre spoke to us about. So that would play also into the budget as well, or no? The salary. So I was just curious, will you state that in maybe the next board meeting?
The contract is already ratified and we agreed and we signed, right?
Okay.
So it's just secured until the contract period.
Well, once it's signed.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
So the board will go on again to the closed session to discuss legal matters. It might take at least 30 minutes and more. So everyone can remain here, otherwise have a good night and thank you for coming to our meeting. May I have a motion to close our closed session and open our meeting to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion to close our regular meeting of March 2026.
I make a motion. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.